Hello, everybody. This is going to be a little bit different than what I normally post. This is going to be a What If Asta. And yes, you see that right. That's a female Asta. This is going to be a gender bender. This is what if Asta, female Asta, had both Leba and the word magic demon. Leba, if you haven't seen or seen the show enough, well, the anime in the Japanese version, or read the manga enough, is, and this is a very big spoiler, is his anti-magic demon. So, Leba is... So this is going to start when Yuno, who is still male, still male, is taken with Asta to the orphanage. And there's a note left with Yuno, and there's a note left with Asta. Yuno's note says his heritage, but since it was raining that day, Yuno's note is soaked. So all it says is his name is Yuno. Now, on Asta's note, which was stuffed in a grimoire, that was protected. If you've seen his grimoire from the anime, that's what it looks like. Just a little less rough. And it says on the note, her name is Asta. I'm going to just keep Asta as her name because it doesn't sound male and it doesn't sound female to me. So it's a gender neutral name to me. And if you can hear the music in the background, that's Stricken by Disturbed. Great song. Anyway, Asta would grow up very, very, very close to Yuno and would have the same problem of she doesn't have any magic. So on the grimoire ceremony, the priest, the father, priest, whatever you want to call him, hands Asta hers and says, "This is yours. You've had it since you were a child." But the letter said, "Don't give it to you until the grimoire receival ceremony." Because I'm going to say that, then this is another spoilers, the Spade Kingdom, where they're from, is kind of like the... not the Spade... Yeah, the Spade Kingdom is kind of like the Clover Kingdom, where they have a grimoire ceremony. But, let's get back to it. But it's more celebrated in the Clover Kingdom, if that makes any sense. So, Asta gets handed this dusty old looking grimoire, and she asks, "What the hell is this?" Not exactly what the hell is this. She goes, "Father, what is this?" And he goes, "Yeah, you were dropped off," while scratching the back of his head. "You're dropped off at the orphanage with this. You wouldn't let it go for 2 days." And she'd go, "Okay." And all of a sudden, before they even leave the orphanage or the church to go to the ceremony, the grimoire glows, and opens and releases the sword. And remember, she's basically had the same exact life, just being a lot closer to Yuno. So she took the grimoire and she opened it, and then it started glowing. All of a sudden, the Demon Slayer sword pops out. She picks it up and she says, "This is really light." And she sticks it in the ground and says, "Why don't you try picking it up?" Grabs it and falls to his knees saying, "I can't lift my arm." And the father, the sister, and all the other children run over to asking what's happening. And Asta pries Yuno's arm off the sword, grabs the sword, and feels energized a little. And she's completely confused. I'm going to say that the Demon Slayer, Demon Dweller, and Demon Destroyer swords that Asta gains absorb a little bit of mana from the enemy that it hits. So, yes, she's going to get a tiny bit of mana, but that's how she's going to be able to use the word soul magic from the demon in the second season? Right? I think so. I think it's second season. I'll have to look that up. But, she feels energized, and all of a sudden, goes, "Wait, Asta, you have magic?" And she goes, "What?" So, Asta gets the birthday present from Father Early, the grimoire holder, and I'm saying that he just saved up enough money to get them those. They haven't been getting birthday presents at all throughout the time, but they get that, their 15th birthday, during the grimoire ceremony. So the father gives them that, and Asta puts her grimoire in there. And I'm going to say that Licht's grimoire from the original Licht, however you want to say it, Licht, and his wife, the one who died, were both plunged into sorrow, and their grimoire changed. Hers changed a lot less than Licht's. And since the original demon, Zagrid, since the original demon Zagrid couldn't find Licht's grimoire, he found his wife's. So he possessed his wife's grimoire, but doesn't have a real body, because of how much energy it took to fully convert the grimoire. So he's stuck in that grimoire. And when Nero, the original Nero, I forget her name, sees both grimoires and sees that Licht's grimoire is not fading, she seals it. She uses her seal magic and seals it with Zagrid, and with Zagrid, the other devil. So when Asta walks into the tower, we're back in present. When Asta walks into the tower, a giant thundering boom is heard from the top of the tower, and everybody's freaking out. And this grimoire rockets down and rockets in front of Asta, and everybody's confused. So she grabs the grimoire and passes out. And then everybody rushes to Asta to see what happened, and they see her clutching a pristine 5-leaf grimoire, like what Zagreed gets after he turns Patri in the last season. In the last section, or last main arc of the anime, that's what it looks like. They see a pristine grimoire in Asta's hand. They try to remove it, but Asta's hand goes with it. Because Zagreed feels demon energy from Asta. So he wants to be there to see if he can get a body. So Asta got transported to her mindscape, and now she's currently talking with Leba, the original demon that she got. She's talking with Leba, and he explains that she has 2 grimoires, and that both of them have been possessed by demons. So she currently, right now, has 2 demons, like in the manga for the Shadow User. I forgot his name. He has 2 demons like him. So now we skip. This is a skip in real life. Not real life. But in outside of the Mindscape, it skipped 3 days. Asta wakes up and sees Yuno. And hugs Yuno. And Yuno asks, "What is that?" And points to her right hand turning black. No, sorry. Her entire right arm turning black. And her teeth sharpening. So on when he asks, "What is that?" a mouth shows up on a part of the arm saying, "No puny human can understand when they're not possessed by a spirit or devil." And Zagreed opens an eye on the arm and immediately shuts the eye and says, "Get away from him." And Asta says, "No." And Yuno's freaked out, so Asta says, "Let me explain." We go back into her mindscape when she was stuck there, and she's talking to Leba about his powers. And she finds out that he's possessed 3 swords at this current moment. Especially at this current moment. And then Zagreed pops into existence saying, "Yeah, I don't like you." Then Leba immediately, he starts fighting Zagreed, and Asta, with her overpowering personality and spirit, yells, "Stop." And both demons, out of instinct, because of how demanding and forceful the tone was, stop. Her yell of stop reminded them of the leading demon. And that's going to happen a lot faster in this What If than... And I'm going to make it my own because I haven't seen that part. But that's going to happen a lot faster. Because Zagrid doesn't bring back the elves. Well, it's not Zagrid that brought back the elves. Anyway. So, she made a deal with Leba for her elbow, her shoulder, and her hand. And Zagrid gets the in-between spots. And she allowed him to form a mouth, eye, and anything he wants on the arm, on those spots of arms, without growing anything excess there. So he can communicate, look around, experience the world, but he cannot insult or offend anybody without her saying that he can talk freely. And with her willpower, yes, she's going to be overpowered with her willpower, because her original magic is never giving up, obviously. With her willpower, she easily got what she wanted from them. So Zagrid got an even trade. Zagrid said he just wants a body. So she said, when my life ends, you can have my body. When my life ends, you can take over this body and do whatever the hell you want, as long as it's not endangering people I cared for or the country I cared for. And he said, fine. All I want is a body. I don't care how long it takes, because he's been stuck in the seal for thousands of years. Yes, it happened a lot later, the Asta incident. And instead of like 300 years, it's thousands of years. And now she looks at Leba. And Leba says, my goal is to kill the Demon King. And she's like, does that affect me? And he goes, yes, it will. She's like, okay, I'll give you my hand, elbow, and shoulder. And with your hands, well, technically my hand, but with your hands, you're going to kill him. But you have to allow me to use your power. She says that to both of them. And they both grin, wide-eyed, and have somewhat of a wide eyes. And they stick out their hands, and Asta shakes both of them. First, Zagrid's. He disappears, and then Leba's. And then she wakes up. And that's what she tells Yuno. That there's something big coming, and that her arm is the only thing that can stop it. So, the 6 months before the Magic Knights exams happens, and Asta is currently on a trip around the edge of the Clover Kingdom and stumbles upon an entrance. So she goes through it, and Leba and Zagrid guide her to the room with all the treasures and jewels and stuff. And she uses her sword, pries it open, because it's a seal and it's a magic door, so she pries it open and goes in. And Leba now guides her to the sun crest that's on the wall. And Zagrid says, use your arm, the devil a possessed arm and stick out your hand. And Leba asks why would she do that in their mind, and he says, just do it. So she sticks out her hand. All of a sudden, a sword comes crashing through the wall. And Zagreus says, Leba knows all the powers of this sword. I just knew how to find it. And now Leba says, okay, you need to steal this back up. And instead of making a magic door, I can help you make an anti-magic door. That will only open to your specific energy. And so she sticks the demon dweller into the door, and slowly Leva and her adjust the door to where it only opens to her. And yes, she did take out the scroll, because she's like, this looks expensive. And yes, she does have a crush on Yuno instead of Sister Lily. So she walks. So it's been like 2 months. And she's now walking back to the church. A week later, she gets to the church and she goes, I think I have something for you. She tosses it to Yuno. Yuno opens it, and all of a sudden a green glowing light happens. And she's been a prodigy with her magic. She understands everything that word soul magic does. She understands completely of her anti-magic. And Zagreus yells, no! This is bullshit. Why did you do that? And this is all in her mind with Zagreus and Leba. And then in her mind, she says, because Leba said he read it and it says the spirit self. So we're going to skip to the Magic Knight's entrance exams. And yes, she still does bump into Yami, but she's not swarmed by anti-magic birds. She only has one anti-magic bird, Nero. And she squealed at how cute it is, because all the women squealed when they saw Nero. So she did the same. And Nero just cooed like she does in the anime. So now they're at the exams. She bumps into Yami, and Yami grabs her head. But this time, instead of Yami crushing her head, she pokes him with the demon dweller. And all of a sudden, Yami loses all of his strength. And he goes, what the hell is that? So she falls from his grasp. And she says, don't try to kill me again, or I'm going to seriously hurt you. And Yami starts laughing and says, I like you. And then the fireworks go off before Yami could ask her a question. So all the tests happen. She still can't ride a broom. She still can't do anything with magic. And Seke is scared of her arm. And this time, she asks if 2 people could fight her at once. And Vengeance asks, why do you want 2? And she says, to better show my abilities. Because just against one enemy, I would just rush him and knock him out. Against multiple, I have to actually fight. And Yami says, sure. William, join me. And he hops down And Vengeance says, "What do you think you're doing?" And he says, "You'll be surprised. Join me." So they go full out against her, and she's holding her own. Uh, Vermilion, Dorothy. Dorothy's actually awake for this one. Dorothy, Ren, uh, Dorothy, Ren, Charlotte, Tub of Lard that betrayed them. I don't even care to remember his name because he's a jerk. And the only reason why she got defeated, which this is like an hour later when she finally gets defeated, she says, "That was fun. I really wish I could sense magic." And Yami and Vengeance eyes are like, "Yeah, that's your only downside." All the other captains are confused. Jack the Ripper. All the other captains are confused and they go, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "I have no natural mana." Then she points the demon dweller at Yami and then swings it, and it's a dark cloak lightless slash from Yami, and says, "I can take the magic from anybody I want and channel it into the sword if they're willing to give it up, or if they have a lot of magic." And all the captain's eyes raise, and Yami, before anybody else could talk, says, "Why don't you join my crew? I can teach you a few things about sensing mana without actually sensing it." And her eyes widen and say, "Yes." And the rest of them are like, "Yeah, he's the only one who can." So we have no room to speak. And before the test even ends, she's already in a squad. So he picks her up and throws her to behind uh, Gordon and Finral, and asks, "Can I see the rest of this? Because there's someone here that I want to cheer on." When he jumps up there, and he's like, "Sure." So the next thing that happens is Yuno's match. And Yuno absolutely destroys that Royal the same way, because he still hasn't been able to summon Sylph. So uh, during the picking, they say participant 143, and Asta says, "I'm up here." And like, okay, participant 144, because we're going to say Asta went first because Yuno's a gentleman. And Yuno steps up and says, "That's me." With what they saw in the broom and everything, all the captains, except for Yami, raise their hand. And Yami says, "I don't need him. I already got my diamond in this rough." And Yuno just goes, "Yes, you did." And Asa starts blushing because she doesn't normally find or get a compliment from Yuno. And he says, "I'll go with the Golden Dawn." So Noelle's still female, but in this one, she's lesbian. And Mimosa is bi. So when um, when Yami is prepared to send her to the Black Bolt's hideout, he picks her up and her second grimoire falls. He picks it up and asks, "What the hell is this?" And she says, "I'll tell you when we get to the hideout." Well, more like, "I'll show you." And Yomi says, "Okay." Throws her gives her the grimoire back and throws her through the portal like he did Asta. And the portal starts shrinking, and he scares Finral, so he opens it up wide again. And the same thing happens with Seke and Yuno, but this time Seke stands outside the bathroom instead of in the main area of the bathroom. Stands outside the bathroom instead of the main area where you can see the doors. And he summons the magic, and Yuno does the same thing and says, "What the hell do you think you're doing to my rival?" Because he's proud to call her his rivals in public, in both in the anime and in this What If. So Seke immediately backs off and says, "It's just a friendly joke." Because yes, she still had the purple viper for a snack. So when she gets to the hideout, there Vanessa's drinking, Charmy's eating, Gauche is Gauche, uh, Magna is trying to kill Luck. So Yami's just hanging his head like, why is everybody so dim-witted? And then all of a sudden, Asta's second grimoire opens. And Yami hears her say, "Word soul magic. Force stop." Magna freezes. Luck freezes. Vanessa stops drinking because all their magic just disappears. They're still moving fine, but all the magic disappeared. Except for Charmy. She's still eating. But she's in a normal person height. So she's in human height. And uh, I'm just going to say the mirror that Gordon's Gordon, and Gauche is still lovey-dovey over his sister. The mirror that he's using to watch Murray vanishes, and he freaks out. And he says, "Mirror magic, real double." Nothing happens. And he's just freaking out still. And Yami looks at Asta, and says, "You did this. What is word soul magic?" And Gordon, hearing word soul, remembers a story from his parents about a demon with magic called word soul. And Gauche immediately starts mumbling, "Why is the demon here? Why is the demon here? Why is the demon here?" Because the stories are that the demon is ruthless and will do anything to destroy the world. And Asta, being really heightened on senses, says, Gauche, says, "Gordon, you don't have to worry. He's under control." And Yami, still confused, asks, "What's going on?" And then she pulls out her first grimoire and says, "This is my anti-magic grimoire. This is my word soul grimoire. They both have a demon inside. That's why I'm so good." And what you didn't hear while I was fighting you guys was me saying word soul, and then different words. That's how you saw the giant version of me just show up. without a sword. Just a giant version of me punching you guys. Even though, yes, I'm very short. So yes, she made herself a 5-meter tall version of her and had it fight with them while she was still fighting them. So everybody was confused at what her magic is because she can blow through all Vengeance's magic and Yami's magic. So Yami starts asking a bunch of questions, and the Wizard King, who was a guard there, asks Marks to patch him into Yami because he's at his office. And Marks, having to follow the Wizard King's orders, says, sure. And the Wizard King shows up while Yami's asking all these questions and says, Yami, I require you and one of your new recruits at my office in 2 days. And Yami's eyes widen, knowing exactly who he wants. So I'm going to skip 2 days, and Julius says, can I see your grimoires? And she goes, no, because it's very dangerous for other people to touch them. But I can make copies. And she goes, word soul magic. Absolute copy, which can copy anything she wants. So she says absolute copy, and two copies of her two grimoires show up. So she hands one copy of both to Yami and hands the other copy to the Wizard King. And she says, these will never disappear. And Julius's eyes widen and ask, what do you mean they'll never disappear? And she says, since I don't use normal mana, they will never disappear like what creations in normal mana will do. And they're physical. And he says, what do you mean physical? So she pulls out her anti-magic sword and says, this is an anti-magic sword. If you put Yami in a prison, which I know you can because, well, you're the Wizard King. You can do anything. So he puts Yami in a chronostasis, and she pokes the chronostasis and completely absorbs it into the sword. So now Yami is just on the ground like, what the hell just happened? Why is your sword glowing now? And the Wizard King's eyes widen, going, that's impressive. So I know this has been a little scatterbrained, but I've wanted to do a what if Asta for a really long time. And I've read a version of this, or I've listened to a version of this of normal Asta, and it wasn't that good, to my opinion. But so the Wizard King spends 3 days talking to Asta, and so when she gets back, she runs into Noelle, who's walking out of the Black Bull's hideout in a tizzy because Magna tried to show her around and pull the I'm your superior card. So she's frustrated, and she bumps into Asta. And she immediately starts blushing and goes, sorry. And Asta says, who are you? I didn't meet you a few nights ago. And Noelle says, of course, because I don't associate with commoners. I'm the Royal Noelle Silva. And Asta goes, then you must have really strong magic. So cool. And Uh, Yami, who heard Asta yell, run, walks out and says, "You both have a mission," because they've already gone on the gambling trip. And Magna walks up behind him and says, "Yeah, I'm escorting you." And Asta goes, "Cool, a mission. Let's go." And this is going to be funny, but Magnus says, "Okay, I know Asta can't fly on a broom. I forgot why you're here." And Nell says, "Because I can't control my magic." But that's not a concern for you, filthy commoner. And Asta immediately goes, "I'm a commoner. I got absolutely no magic. But I'll see you guys there." And runs off at full speed. The same speed that she had when she blitzed Seke, or when he blitzed Seke in the uh, exam thing. And Magna's eyes widen, being like, "Holy crap, she's fast." And Noelle, being weird about it, and says, "I need a lift." Magna brings out his crazy cyclone, and they get there, and Asta's already sitting there waiting. She's sitting at the entrance to the village waiting. She has 3 people currently wrapped up and 2 people with giant swords on them. Magna asks what the hell's going on, and Asta says, "I found these guys about to cast a spell on this entire thing, so I before stopped them and then stopped them." And the uh, like elder of the village, he comes walking out and greets Magna and says, "This young lady is powerful." And Asta smiles and goes, "Yeah, you're really strong too, old man." He goes, "Show some respect and call me either chief or by my name. I don't care if you call me a shortened version of my name. But just don't call me old." She goes, "Okay." So she starts calling him by his name. I forgot his name. And all of a sudden, Asta gets pecked in the head by Nero with the stone. And since one of the people are uh, waking up, the leader of the group is waking up, and she walks over to him and asks, "Why were you here?" And he says, "I'll never say anything to you." Then she goes, "Word soul magic. Truth binding." Then all of a sudden, he says, "We're here for a magic stone that will return us to our true forms." And his eyes widen, thinking, "Why the hell did I just tell them that?" And she goes, "You're strange. This is your true form, 1, and 2, what the hell are magic stones?" And then she gets pecked in the head again with a pink stone, and she shoos off Nero for a second, then knocks the leader out again, and looks at Nero and says, "What?" So she has a stone. Nara has a stone in her mouth and coos, like she does in the anime. And she's like, "Is that the magic stone?" Zagreus goes on her arm and says, "Yeah, that's the magic stone." Damn Licht. And Asta goes, "Who the hell's Licht?" And Zagreus goes, "The original owner of your first grimoire." Asta's eyes widen and go, "The sword magic guy?" And Zagreus goes, "Yeah, him." Then Leba pops up in her head and goes, "Yeah, I was sealed in his grimoire. I know exactly where he is, but he's in a strong magic region." So, and Zagreus says, "And I feel a devil in that direction. So, we're either going to have to kill him because of Leba, or we send him back." And Leba just yells, "Kill all the devils! No more devils! Once they're all dead, you can kill me too! With my own magic!" And Asta goes, A, we're not going to kill them all. B, we are going to kill every single one of them that tries to attack people. And Leba goes, "No, kill them all!" And the shadow user pops up and goes, "Hello, I need to talk with you." Grabs Asta's shoulder, the unchanged shoulder, and disappears. And then all of a sudden, the military shows up with mana chains and all this stuff to help transport the prisoners. So the shadow user asks Asta, "What's going on?" Because all of a sudden I feel a giant burst of devil magic from you. I feel a giant burst of devil magic from this uh, country. And now you show up? She goes, "Yeah." "Wait, you're a devil possessed too." He goes, "Yeah. Why? Can you teach me how to go into full form?" And he goes, "Sure. But it may be harder for you." She goes, "I know, because I have no mana." And his two demons, pop up on his shoulders and goes, "Oh, hey, Zagreus." And the other one goes, "Who the hell's the other one?" So Zagreus pops up on her arm, addressing them, and says, "Hi." And so a month passes, and Yami is like, "Yeah, we're not going to go try looking for her, because if we try going to go look for her, she's either well hidden or no one wants us to find her. And the person who doesn't want us to find her apparently is really good at hiding her. So, oh, there you go. So she's currently like that, but with the demon arm. So after the month of training, she now can go full possessed, the full possessed form. And her full possessed form allows her to grow a few inches so she looks normal height. So when she gets back to the Black Bull's hideout. Everybody asks, where the hell were you? We were worried. Everybody. Except Yami. He's like, finally you're back. We got another mission. And she says, I was training, and I think I know what the mission is. And Yami goes, okay, what is the mission? She goes, dungeon? Can't open? And Yami's eyes widen and say, yeah. All of our attempts to break into the dungeon have either resulted in the mana exhaustion or self-harm from the defenses. And she goes, yeah. Holds up her right hand and goes, I'm the key. And Yami's eyes widen, going, what? And she goes, yeah, I found that when I was traveling, so I kind of locked the treasure room. It's right on the border of the Diamond Kingdom, isn't it? And he goes, yeah. The Diamond and Clover Kingdom both linked up to try to open it. To find out that in my squad, apparently the key is here. And he's yelling now. And all of a sudden, a contact from Marks goes, okay, when are you sending the squad? And Yami goes, yeah, I'm not sending the squad. I'm sending one person. And Marks goes, what do you mean? And he goes, I'm sending the key. Mark's eyes widen, going, what key? And then Asta hops in on the transmission and goes, do you not see the hand shape? And she sees the door in the background and goes, yeah, look at the bottom, roughly my height. There should be a hand shape. And since Marks has met Asta, he looks there and he sees the hand and he goes, no. Is this your doing? And she goes, yep. It's anti-magic. No one can get in. Except me. I appreciate your attempts, though. And Mark's face palms, and one of the Shining Generals that is currently there with the Wizard King chatting about magic, because they both like magic and adore what kind of magic each other have, sees Mark's face palming and asks, what's wrong? He goes, we've already had one of our Magic Knight squad members arrive here. And the Wizard King says, okay. We'll just have that squad member forfeit it 25% because technically we've already found it. And the Shining General goes, that's fair. How about 30% and we'll leave you alone for a little bit longer before we attack you if we ever do. And Julius goes, how about you don't attack us? Because apparently this squad member knows that a foreign enemy is going to attack very soon, and we need as many people as high as possible to help. So how about we make an alliance until this threat is found and destroyed? And the spatial magic user that was there walks up and says, I'm here, you don't need to call me. So he opens up a portal, and the Shining General walks in, talks to the Emperor of the Diamond Kingdom. He walks back and says, he requires proof. And all of a sudden, you hear the ground shaking and the door sounding like it's moving. And all of a sudden, a girl walks into the main chamber, and everybody looks at her and sees the black bull robe, and they start laughing. She looks at the Wizard King and says, "I'm here." And Julius facepalms going, "Why didn't I see this coming?" So I'm going to end it here because I need to write the rest of it. But I'm going to get Toph and Evolve Deku out today. I promise. If not during the daytime, it's going to be at nighttime, but I'm going to get it out. So, bye.